Time for another episode of Fragrance Battle. Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. It's time for your daily dose of some fragrance content and it's time for another episode of Fragrance Battle. And in today's episode of Fragrance Battle, I'm going to try to answer the question, is it worth chasing the more expensive clones out there? So today I'm going to battle the most inexpensive versus the most expensive clothes of some famous designer and niche scents. The first pair of fragrances that I'm going to compare in today's video will be Ilham Al Oud from the brand of Zimaya versus Oros Pure Leather Gold. Now, the brand of Zimaya is a sub-brand of Afnan, whereas Oros Pure or Oros, the brand of Oros, is actually a sub-brand of Armaf, and this is like their more high-end up line of fragrances. Now both of them, what are trying to do is get as close as possible to the original fragrance from Louis Vuitton, which is called Ombre Nomade. Now Ombre Nomade is a very famous designer fragrance which is very expensive, and that usually means, and it's very sought after fragrance and scent, and that means that it has spawned many clones over the past few years. And today I'm going to compare the most expensive clone of Ombre Nomade that I have in my collection, which is Oros Pure Leather Gold, versus Ilham Al Oud from Zimaya, which is the most inexpensive clone. And just to put the pricing into perspective, I personally paid less than 15 euros to get Ilham Al Oud, whereas I had to pay over 65 euros to get Oros Pure Leather Gold. Now, first of all, when it comes to the packaging and the presentation, the one from Armaf and Oros definitely looks of higher quality, although Ilham Al Oud also comes nicely packaged, especially considering how cheap of a fragrance it is. But definitely, the bottle design, the whole presentation, the quality and the feel that you get out of both of them, Oros Pure Leather Gold definitely feels like the more expensive product. When it comes to the scent of both fragrances and the performance, which is probably the most important part of any fragrance battle, I would say that by far Oros Pure Leather Gold feels a lot closer to the original fragrance, and definitely on its own feels like having a lot higher quality. When it comes to the scent, it really emulates very closely what the original fragrance is doing, meaning that you can easily pick up the notes of leather, the notes of rose, the notes of amber, that incense note that you get in the original fragrance, the raspberry note. Basically this feels very similar to Ombre Nomade, especially in the air smells almost identical. And also the quality of the scent is super high, and this definitely is a very nicely done fragrance from the brand of Armaf and Oros. When it comes to Ilham Al Oud, now this is not a bad fragrance on its own, but this definitely smells of a lot lesser quality compared to Oros Pure Leather Gold, and of course compared to the original fragrance. Also, this is like a more simplistic take on the scent of Ombre Nomade. You'll get the leather, you'll get the oud, you'll get the rose, but the other notes, basically like the note of raspberry, the ambery sweetness, that incense note, those notes are pretty hard to find in this fragrance. Again, this just feels like a more simplistic take on the scent of the original fragrance from Louis Vuitton. And definitely the quality and the materials basically that have been used when making up Ilham Al Oud are definitely of a lesser quality compared to this one. So when it comes to the scent, definitely Oros Pure Leather Gold feels of a lot higher quality and also smells a lot closer to the original fragrance. When it comes to performance, the original scent is very beastly thanks to that combination of notes like agar oud, leather and rose, which is a pretty strong combination. And actually both fragrances that are featured today are pretty decent performance. Ilham Al Oud will easily give you 7 to 8 hours of performance, which is not bad at all, again considering how cheap of a fragrance this one is. Oros Pure Leather Gold on the other hand is slightly better when it comes to performance, not slightly but better. I would say that this will give you at least an hour or two on top of what Ilham Al Oud will give you. Also, this projects a little bit better. So again, when it comes to the performance, the total longevity and the projection, Oros Pure Leather Gold is the better fragrance in here. And so that leads me to the question, do you really need to chase Oros Pure Leather Gold? Or you can safely go with Ilham Al Oud. In my opinion, if you have to choose between just those two scents, I would definitely say that although Oros Pure Leather Gold is a lot more expensive, costs 3 to 4 times more than Ilham Al Oud, in my opinion it's worth it because you'll get better presentation, you'll get a lot higher quality when it comes to the scent, you'll get a lot closer to the original fragrance, and you'll also get better performance. But again, if you don't want to shell for 65-70 euros or something like $70-80 for a clone fragrance, I can give you sort of let's call it something in the middle, a nice alternative to both of them and the original scent, and that one comes from the brand of Maison Alhambra, and it's called Jean Lowe Ombre. And this one smells a lot similar to the original fragrance, and the quality here is a lot higher compared to the fragrance from Zimaya, and at the same time it has slightly lesser quality compared to Oros Pure Leather Gold, but it's also cheaper. Around here this costs around about 30-35 euros, so it's about half the price of Oros Pure Leather Gold. And now for the second round, I'm going to compare again my most inexpensive clone and my most expensive clone of another great fragrance. This time we're talking about niche scent, very popular niche fragrance, and that's the fragrance called Layton, that comes from the brand of Parfums de Marly. On one hand, I have the cheapest clone of Layton in my collection, which again incidentally comes from the brand of Zimaya, and it's called Royal Paragon. And this one I personally paid around about 16-17 euros to get it, so a little bit more expensive than Ilham Al Oud, but still costs almost next to nothing. And on the other hand, I have the most expensive clone of Layton that I have in my collection. It comes from the brand of Orientica, or you can think of this one as a sub-brand or sister brand of Al Haramain, and it's called Exclusive Oud Blue. Personally, for this one I paid around about again 65-70 euros, but keep in mind that this comes in only a 60 milliliter bottle size. First of all, when it comes to presentation, quality of the bottle design and everything else, this is pretty much a no contest, because although again Royal Paragon from Zimaya actually feels nice in hand and the whole packaging is not bad, Orientica's Exclusive Oud Blue just takes the cake, because this comes a lot better packaged. It just feels of a lot higher quality, the whole presentation, the box, and then the bottle as well also feels of a lot higher quality. So you're definitely getting the feel of a lot more luxurious experience if you prefer if you go with Orientica's Exclusive Oud Blue. But next, let's move again to the more important things like the scent profile and the performance. Now, Royal Paragon from Zimaya, it's a nice, again, a slightly sort of a simplistic take on the original scent. You'll get some of the notes that you'll find in the original fragrance, like some of the sweetness, the fruity sweetness, maybe a hint of the spiciness and the greenness, some of the oudiness on the dry down. But this definitely feels a lot sweeter than Layton. It feels a lot fruitier, it feels a lot more ambery and vanillic sweeter compared to Layton itself. And here you have to take in mind that you won't get a lot of that greenness, a lot of that spiciness that Layton is known for. This on its own actually smells quite nice. I like it a lot, to be honest, especially again considering how cheap of a fragrance it is. But definitely this doesn't come super close when it comes to the scent to the original fragrance. On the other hand, Orientica Exclusive Oud Blue smells a lot closer to the original scent. It also smells of a lot higher quality. In fact, the quality in here, to my nose, feels almost exactly the same as the one that you'll get out of the Parfums de Marly fragrance. This is not identical to Layton. To my nose, this feels ever slightly more spicy than Layton and just slightly less green than Layton, but we're talking about minute differences here. So when it comes to the quality of the scent, the closeness to the original fragrance, definitely the winner by far is the more expensive scent, which is Orientica's Exclusive Oud Blue. When it comes to performance, Royal Paragon is an okay-ish performing fragrance, a little bit above average. Initially when I got this, it was more on the average side, a year and a half later, this will give me something like 7 to maybe even up to 8 hours of performance. So it's above average, but nothing more than that. Projection is also more on the softer side. When it comes to Exclusive Blue from Orientica, this is a beastly performer. This easily gives me over 10 hours of performance. Also projects really nicely, and to be honest, in my experience, this actually outperforms by a little bit even the original scent. So again, the more expensive fragrance here will give you a lot better performance. When it comes to the price, as I mentioned earlier, Royal Paragon can usually be found for something like 15 to 20 euros, which makes it a super good deal considering that this actually smells again on its own pretty nice and just costs a fraction of the price of the original. Whereas Orientica's Exclusive Blue, I personally paid somewhere between 65 to 70 euros, and this sometimes in my country it costs even more than that. Sometimes it goes over 80 to 90 euros. So this again, we're talking about 4 to even maybe up to 5 times difference when it comes to the pricing of the two fragrances. But again, just as a conclusion, I would still say that Orientica Exclusive Oud Blue is by far the better, the superior product in here. Royal Paragon is for those of you who want to experience, to get somewhere close to Layton's scent and DNA for the least amount of money. But if you have the money to spend, I think definitely it's worth checking out and chasing after Orientica's Exclusive Oud Blue. But again, just like round one, if you don't want to shelf that amount of money, if you want something in the middle, something that still has very nice quality, very good performance, but is not as costly or as Exclusive Oud Blue, an interesting sort of a middle ground alternative this time around comes from the brand of Paris Corner and their North Stack Expression line of fragrances, and it's called Dew. And this is a very nice clone of Layton. It's to my nose, it's a little bit greener, ever slightly more spicy than Layton itself, but in there actually smells quite close to Layton. Offers very good quality, offers nice packaging, nice presentation, and also offers very good performance, pretty much on par with the original fragrance. And all that for nowadays a price tag of around about 35 euros, which is about half the price of Orientica's Exclusive Oud Blue. And so guys, in today's episode of A Fragrance Battle, I compared the two most inexpensive clones of Layton and Ombre Nomade in my collection with the two most expensive clones of Layton and Ombre Nomade in my collection, and I tried to answer the question, is it worth actually chasing the more expensive clones? I hope that you found this video interesting to watch. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me tomorrow for your daily dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.